Sonic Manga Issue 1. Thanks, Julian, for giving me a link to this. So here is an analysis of the fan-translated Sonic manga issues. We start out with me being told that apparently, no one has ever heard of South Island, let alone seen it. Really? Okay, at least it's trying to be original with South Island's lore. And I'm not seeing checkerboard ground so far, but I'm still kind of bored at seeing the island of Green Hill Zone for the millionth time. At least being too similar to the games will make some sense here because it's based on Sega Japan's interpretation of the franchise. The Sonic promotional comic in the 90s had no excuse for being like that, but at least this has a slight excuse of literally being from Japan, so it's their idea. But even the OVA was far more creative than this, so that's no excuse at all. It's not like the person who wrote this was literally the person who came up with all the Sonic 1 ideas, so he's still using someone else's idea. Literally a panel after we were told that no one has ever seen or heard of South Island, except everybody in the Sonic fanbase. We see a bunch of small animal people straight out Sonic X running away from Eggman's giant robots, which are at least bipedal for a change instead of all being pathetic badniks. So it's much easier to swallow here that a bunch of people were caught by him in badnik FUD, as opposed to being expected to believe motobugs were that threatening. But yeah, we were just told that nobody has ever seen South Island. Do these people not count? How did this mistake get made? They could have said nobody outside of South Island. I was actually excited to see an interpretation of South Island as a place that nobody on that planet had seen before, because that would be something kind of new. It would try to justify why it was considered very peaceful, though I'd still be questioning how Eggman and Sonic found it, and how no one visited it up until now. It could be explained with the island having a magical spell on it that would make it travel between dimensions, like Mobo-Dune from Sonic Underground with his Power Stone. But no! Not even that's original. And even meta-wise, it's not true that nobody's seen or heard of this island. So when was this manga released? So far, the only good thing I've noticed about this manga is that there's large bipedal robots making Eggman look intimidating, in spite of his stupid classic Eggman design. Otherwise, it's nothing I haven't seen before. The only other compliment I can find is, thank God there's color. I was expecting it to all be lazily black and white and harder to interpret. That would have been terrible. I was confused at first at seeing the panel saying Dr. Eggman's challenge, but oh, it was the title page, so it's not like Sonic's already finding and rescuing these talking animal people. They should have had the title panel at the start, that's common sense. And it must suck to be that sentient bird who has no apparent fingers, just wings. He can't accomplish much with that. Sentient just kinda wasted on him. He laments what's happening to their island, but I have no idea what's going on. I'm just seeing meaningless Japanese text over the palm tree that wasn't translated because that would have taken 2 seconds out of their time. If I hadn't already been warned that the sound effects weren't translated, I wouldn't have even realized they were supposed to be sound effects. Usually sound effects are the easiest thing to translate because it's obvious from the context what the text says. Like, if you see an explosion, that text in the middle of it must say boom. But here, I don't know what this means, because it's not like I'm seeing a chainsaw cutting through that palm tree. So the bird seems to be complaining for no reason, as I'm wondering why he's not currently being put into a badnik, or grabbed to be put into one. You'd think the easiest text to translate would be done first, not lazily ignored for no reason. One person could have done that. No! Instead, the translators prioritize having Eggman say Sama after his name. Why have the sound effects be translated to avoid confusing the audience when you can confuse the audience with a meaningless-looking Japanese honorific instead? It's so redundant because it was already obvious from how he was talking and how he is that he's speaking about himself arrogantly. He says he'll turn South Island into his fortress as he stands over what just looks like a purple jungle gym from a playground. So far, this is just the story of Sonic 1 again. And I don't care that it's the first game, it's still no excuse for the franchise being obsessed with referencing that story so many different times in a row. I come to other continuities for a brand new story I never saw before. So far, even Sonic Legacy looks more interesting than this. It's not like the classic Sonic games elements aren't interesting on their own. It's not like they weren't creative ideas when they were first come up with. What other franchise has animal people being put into robots? But I have no reason to be impressed by what I've seen a million times before, especially not when it's already been done to its fullest potential in Fleetway. So I see the trillionth different rewriting of Sonic 1, not even 3 or 2, and I'm just bored. He says that he'll be able to buy lots of eggs when he conquers the world, which are his favorite food. Which makes sense because he's large enough that he's called Eggman. And a lot of people like eggs. It's annoying how he keeps saying yes at the end of his sentences. That's not intimidating, but neither was him talking about buying his favorite food. But at least that was there to humanize him, instead of him just being a bland bad guy only there to be a bad guy. At least here, he seems more like a person than the Sadie M. Robotnik. But I respect that guy's presence way more. This guy just looks ridiculous. Then a robot on wheels that looks a little like Rob calls him Dr. Eggman, when Robotnik always made more sense. Who would have the actual last name Eggman? He says they're getting a signal of a Chaos Emerald from the northwest, and he shows Eggman it from his TV chest. And Eggman says, "Ooh, you're right, yes." At least they're trying to portray him as entertaining in an energetic way, which is far less boring than him just saying he loses every time and insulting his robots, or being a deadpan snarker when putting up with Tails like in the modern games. But again, it's not intimidating. So already the story seems a bit confused in tone. Because first it tried to have him be a threat and the animals were lamenting their island, establishing that he was serious. But now he's just a comedy character. And where are the animals? We don't know why he thinks World Conquest is okay yet. So what's the point of showing us a redundant prequel to Sonic 1 if not even that will be explained? We're not being told Eggman's origin. It's not explaining anything interesting a prequel would be needed for. We could have assumed all of this happened. So far, the Sonic promotional comic made a better prequel to Sonic 1. What was Sonic doing before Sonic 1? Where was he living? How was he paying the rent? That'd be just a few panels. And somehow no Sonic plagiarism has ever explained this. It's obviously hard for me to be invested instead of snarking a lot when it's so much what I've already seen before. Green Hill Zone, animals, robots. Eggman promptly confuses me when he says that getting a Chaos Emerald on this island is an added bonus, and he should have known it was here. Well, so much for that. Why did he choose this island of all places to build his fortress out of everywhere else? Was it just the nearest place to his house? It would have made a bit more sense if he came here specifically because he knew there were Chaos Emeralds here. He's less competent this way, bumbling into an emerald. Why did it take so long to detect the emerald? Maybe it's proximity based. That's how Knuckles' Emerald Radar worked in SA1. Plus there's more Japanese text over him that means nothing to me. It doesn't look like there should be a sound effect here, so what's the point? This should have either been translated or erased. If I had a comic in French, and I was translating it for the first time into English, I would translate the whole thing. And I don't see why I'd even need a whole team. I think you just need one person with a bilingual dictionary and a laptop. Then the comic wastes our time reminding us what Chaos Emeralds are. We know they've got a lot of energy in them. This would be worthwhile if it were establishing what specifically it was able to let you do with the emerald alone in your hand. But usually emeralds are just there to power whatever machine Eggman wants, no matter what it's meant to do. When it'd make more sense if it was the magical gem's magic spell doing it. If this is all they're doing at this point, powering a machine, then you could have Eggman just build a super battery himself and it would achieve the exact same purpose and we wouldn't need the emeralds. So it's a good thing they thought up the supersonic idea. We're told by Eggman that no one has ever been able to determine the location of the Chaos Emerald. First of all, does he mean literally the location of only one? Then why is he saying the Chaos Emerald? So does he think there's only one of them? Or is this a mistranslation somehow because Japanese doesn't have plurals, even though it should be an obvious assumption that he's saying the Chaos Emeralds. If no one's ever found them in all of history, well, wait a minute. How in the hell did he think to start looking for them then? How did he even know the name of the emerald? I guess its existence was theorized about by people for a long time based on the magical chaos energy that's everywhere on the planet. If there's so much magic everywhere, it stands to reason there's a magical gem. Or better yet, a source of all that magic. And no one ever knowing where the emerald is before, it's a logical way to explain why it's not already held in the possession of a major authority figure on the planet, or at least already powering a machine of some kind. But that previous panel should have just told us how people know about the existence of the Chaos Emerald and thought to name it then. Like, is it something people came up with for their ancient religious mythologies, and just coincidentally turned out to be real? He tells his big bipedal robots to begin the Chaos Emerald excavation, while his construction robot army keeps up the fortress's construction. I never imagined, well, one, that the emerald was underground instead of in a special stage requiring 50 rings, but then he would have never been able to detect it because it'd be in another universe. I never imagined that his fortress was constructed by robots. I always thought Eggman himself engineered it, just like I imagined him to engineer everything else himself. But this actually makes a lot more sense, because Scrap Brain Zone would be ridiculously large. Why wouldn't he speed things up by making his robots build stuff too? I guess I just preferred the idea that Eggman was hard at work making everything himself, so it all had his personal touch. I have no faith in Eggman to actually get the Chaos Emerald because he looks like classic Eggman. And this is doing so much to just reuse Sonic 1's ideas. So it seems like a foregone conclusion that Sonic will stop him just because it's so samey to Sonic 1. Too bad. I'd want to see what machine he'd be planning to power with the Emerald to make the plot more original, because he's not mentioning what he plans to actually do with it, so the tension's not as high as it could be. He already has a bunch of robots functioning without needing an emerald to power them. It honestly doesn't look like Eggman's wearing sunglasses here, because I'm not seeing anything between the two lenses holding them together. It literally just looks like he has weird blue lenses for eyes, like a cyborg. This is the problem with the classic Eggman design. At least with modern Eggman, he looks more like an actual human being. I'm not wondering how he can see with eyes with no eyeballs in them. Eggman says that with the energy of the Chaos Emerald, he could boil the world's largest egg in the world's largest pot. Okay, it'd be amusing if that was actually literally his only plan for the Emerald. They take even further advantage of his Eggman name. He even says that's been his dream since he was young. So he's a big eater, which explains his appearance. But I think he's just using that as an example, as he says the Emerald really does have a lot of energy. There'd be no tension at all if this was his only plan for the Emerald ever. Just let him boil giant eggs, Sonic, it doesn't matter. There isn't even any Supersonic in Sonic 1, so he has no reason to need all the Emeralds. So we see Green Hill Zone, because of course. Wait, I thought that was where Eggman was. I mean, he was in a field, so he was having Scrap Brain Zone built. He could have just as easily built the fortress in Green Hill Zone, and that would have been original, but no. We see a confusing panel where a whole crowd of people is in front of a stage with blue curtains and a picture of Sonic with his name on it above the curtains, implying that Sonic's already a famous and beloved celebrity. Which makes a lot more sense because of his super speed making him stand out, than him only becoming famous because he fought Eggman. And there's two human girls in the crowd, one of them with bunny ears coming out of her pink hair, like she's one of the human animal people from Fleetway, or Sarah from the OVA. What's really great is that the humans are alongside the animal people, no big deal. This actually destroys the whole two worlds nonsense. Even a manga from Japan released to promote Sonic 1 had humans and animals on the same planet together. Although, it could still be true that the humans' ancestors came from a planet called Earth, and this is Mobius. But the fact that there's a bunny-eared human here implies that the humans and animal people might have a common ancestor of some kind. That they both share history and evolution as sentient people. Or more likely, the normal humans could be from Earth, and the bunny humans could be Mobius natives. We don't know, we aren't being told anything. The humans aren't a big focus of the animals around them. Honestly, I think this makes it obvious that Sega Japan only came up with the two worlds idea by Sonic X. Or at least by the time that Fleetway had the issue where there was an Earth with humans on it. Why else would they have not only a human like Eggman on Sonic's planet with no explanation, as if none is required because it's normal, but also have the OVA movie have Sarah and the President be humans, who live in a world with a talking owl in it. It's obvious that even Japan thought of them as living on the same planet at this point, and in fact, humans seem to be the minority here, as it should be. So what happened? If this was Sega Japan's original idea, that would have been much more palatable to Sonic fans in SC1 than Nothing But Humans later. It's clear that they focused more on the humans by SC1 as an afterthought because they wanted to be different for the sake of being different, and saw that they always had a greater focus on humans, and that's basically their only identity. Oh, instead it looks like Sonic's just playing electric guitar in a rock band, like in Sonic Underground. I hope we're not expected to believe this is the only reason he got famous, but he can move at the speed of sound. Maybe that was discovered first. Maybe his sonic speed was a great way for him to draw attention to his band. We don't know. We're lucky we're even getting this backstory. I think there's mostly humans here. And unfortunately, Sonic has a microphone. Even though every time he's ever been given a voice, it was a nasally one that clearly doesn't seem like it'd sound good when singing. Or it was Roger Craig Smith, but that's the exception that proves the rule. I can't imagine Sonic would be a good singer as a result. But he apparently is, just because he's the main character of the series. So he has to be the one most in focus. When it would actually make him more sympathetic and work better for his humble beginnings if he actually had somewhat humble beginnings by being just a guitarist. Like that Rooster. Where the hell is Vector? He was supposed to play in the band with him on the Sonic 1 title screen. Most Sonic fans don't imagine that Sonic was in a rock band before he became a hero. But it's infinitely better to establish that he was doing something before then. Because the only other alternative is that he was just running around stealing to get food and water, crashing on people's couches. Because he doesn't have parents around, and we never saw him associated with an orphanage either. And we don't know what job he used to have in the games. So if he didn't have anyone giving him money, how else was he supposed to get what he wanted other than stealing? Like AOSDH Sonic, who must have stolen at least some of his disguises. He had a soldier's uniform at one point. How did he make money before he formed the rock band? Is he still living at an orphanage? Are all of these people the orphans from his orphanage? So if I had to choose between the truly humble beginnings of being a thief because he's an orphan with no other way to support himself, and him being in a rock band, I guess this is the much better alternative to making the main character of a kid's series a former thief. That'd be a bad role model, so Sega would chicken out at that. But Sonic's entire appeal was that he wasn't a wonderful role model. He was edgy, rebellious, unlike Mario. So him being a thief would have worked too, and that has to be how it is in the games as canon unless this manga is canon to it. It's a good thing everyone forgave him for all the stealing, and the government decided to pay him money for fighting Eggman. Or else he'd still be considered a feared criminal today. The point is, Sonic being a rock band isn't stupid just because Sonic Underground did it. I'm only mad at how it's favoritizing Sonic by making him the lead singer trying way too hard to make him cool. It's redundant. But of all the jobs I could have had for Sonic to make an honest living, a rock band? I think the ideal job for Sonic would be delivery boy. I loved how that was handled when I saw that done. And even the first issue of Archie Sonic had him as a delivery boy of a chili dog stand. Though he'd be better off delivering pizzas. How much restraint does it take him to not eat any of the chili dogs? Then Sonic sees the missiles, which I took a while to register as such, and an explosion happens near Sonic's stage, implying that Sonic was killed, but I'm not buying it, so why did they bother writing it? It wouldn't make any sense that... Well, I guess Eggman would order Sonic's destruction to destroy the morale of the people because he's sadistic. Because Sonic's a well-known singer. I guess that makes sense then? Because they're not supposed to be enemies yet. I wasn't sure at first if Eggman really did personally show up at Sonic's concert, because we then cut to him supervising the Emerald excavation. And it'd be a big unlucky coincidence that the Emerald is right where Sonic's concert is. Not to mention I was expecting Eggman to supervise the construction of his fortress and stay there where it's safe. He didn't have to personally come here. But apparently he is at the concert, as we see a skimpily dressed girl from the concert tell Eggman to stop it and call him a creep. Being unbelievably gutsy considering she's talking to someone with authority over big scary robots, who's in a floating machine. He can do anything at this point. No one would be this stupid unless she wants to get killed. Also, she has a tail. Anyways, I'm a little disappointed that Eggman showing up to Sonic's concert was a Diabolus Ex Machina. It could have made more sense that he decided to attack Sonic's concert because he's a popular singer who could potentially sing to rebel against him. Or better yet, Sonic could actually start singing to rebel against him after finding out what Eggman's doing. But instead, it's rushed, and he's just doing it because an emerald coincidentally is right here of all other places on the island, just to get Sonic involved because he's the main character. Coincidences do happen in real life, but it could have been a little less contrived than that. Why can't Eggman have multiple plans in one story? He did in early Archie just fine. I'm guessing Eggman will punish her for lashing out at him, as we see the text condescendingly tell us that, yes, this chicken is called a chicken. Sonic destroys the robot with his spin attack. Odd, I expected the robot to at least get a chance to grab her first. Not to mention, how many times has Sonic done this before? You can't spin attack at an organic being because it'd be messy and people would disapprove of it, and Sonic would never forgive himself. And it's not like Sonic's used to spin attack to destroy things, because he'd get in trouble for causing collateral damage or something. So it sure is a good thing that Sonic immediately got the idea to jump into the robot at a spinning buzzsaw and destroy it with the sharp spines for the first time. I guess hedgehogs throughout Mobian history have been known for doing that, just not to robots because they weren't invented yet. So Sonic quickly got the idea in the heat of the moment because he's not the only one who's had sharp spines. He's portrayed as cool as he tells Eggman he'll make him pay for crashing his concert with a confident smirk instead of looking mad at him. He really is confident if he immediately knows that he can humiliate Eggman the second he met him and his giant robots, and has never fought them before. And he should be confident because he can move at the speed of sound and has sharp spines, and is able to smack into things at that speed without hurting himself. So I guess this makes a lot more sense than Sonic being insecure and intimidated. First time or not, he's a confident, reckless teenager, so that's all part of youth. But considering how he's just gonna beat all of these robots in one hit each with something as been there done that as the spin attack, there is no excuse at all for taking more than one panel to show each of their defeats. In fact, if you're gonna write the action scene that lazily, you could just show him defeating one with a single panel and cut to them all being defeated, and we'd have missed nothing. I guess we'll be pretty bored with IDW then. Okay, at least we're being shown him defeating a whole bunch of robots in one panel, even if it's still just with a spin attack. I mean, he doesn't have any other method of fighting them right now, and this is Eggman's first encounter with him, so he doesn't know to make his robots of tougher materials that would require a different strategy yet. But it's still lame that Eggman won't get the first emerald. You think the main villain of the series would end up with at least the first one? Of course, Eggman sends a wrecking ball after Sonic, again. But at least this time, it looks like an actual wrecking ball in the real world, so I didn't recognize it at first. Sonic naturally reacts quickly enough to jump on top of it just as it's about to land on him, and jump onto Eggman's Eggmobile from it. Already better than Sonic Legacy then. At least here, Sonic doesn't get hit multiple times, when there would be no excuse when he's that fast. He doesn't get caught off guard because he's talking to himself for an eternity instead of paying attention. He just stays silent and focuses on the fight the whole time, not wasting our time with insulting Eggman for being fat or bald. This is lucky for his first try, but it makes a lot more sense for someone who's supposed to be competent. He smirks at him evilly like Scourge would, when he doesn't have to do that, and scares Eggman as he spin attacks the Eggmobile a whole bunch of times. I guess he's homie attacking it for the first time, because otherwise how would he stay in the air? I wonder if he'll send him flying away, make me wonder how he survived. Sonic says he'll resume the performance, and I get irritated when the text box tells me that you'll have to play Sonic 1 to find out the rest of the story. But fortunately, the story resumes after that, apparently, as we see Eggman somehow still able to fly away from him in the Eggmobile, even though it's got smoke coming out of it. Okay, this is fucking stupid. Sonic would have destroyed it! It certainly looks like he was going to. Logically, if the reason Sonic beat all his robots in one hit was that Eggman wasn't prepared for how hard of a hitter Sonic was, because I guess he wasn't aware Sonic would be where he was headed, because he's totally out of touch with pop culture, then the same logic would apply to his Eggmobile being made of weak materials for Sonic too. So logically what would have happened would be that the Eggmobile would be destroyed, Eggman would fall out, and then Sonic would use his super speed to get some rope to tie him up. Then he'd go call the police on Eggman, and he'd get put in jail. Eggman wasn't expecting that, and he's really arrogant. So why would he have a backup plan like a robot that would go break him out? It seems like Sonic destroyed all of his robots here. Also, it looks like he didn't even put anybody in Badniks yet. But I guess it makes sense that a genius would program all of his robots so that if they spent long enough without him, they would go search for him to break him out of the nearest jail. That would have made Eggman look smart. And Sonic not letting him get away after interrupting his concert and nearly killing him would make Sonic look smart. Instead of cocky enough to, assume he'll give up after this? Shouldn't it be obvious he can go on to make more robots and just try to avoid him? If they're trying to portray Sonic as cool, well, being a baffling idiot isn't cool. Being genre savvy is. That's part of what makes Rick cool. He's cool because he's smart. But instead of Sonic making sure he can't hurt anyone again, and doing the morally responsible thing in front of all those people, He just selfishly goes back to his concert. And you'd think with all the different people in that crowd, at least one of them would tell him he should send Eggman up his Eggmobile and tie him up. At least Archie Sonic thought to tie up Scourge. Instead, we see Eggman playing Sonic 1, even though he's planning his revenge on Sonic. And then he says how frustrating, as if he's actually trying to beat the game properly instead of doing what you'd expect Eggman to do with a video game starring Sonic, and repeatedly have Sonic killed in it. This had no thought whatsoever. It was just, look kiddies, the game's so awesome even the main villain wants to beat it. Yeah, never mind the fact that he has a huge grudge against Sonic now. It'd make more sense if he said that he just got this game in a Genesis so that he could repeatedly kill Sonic in it for stress relief. But instead I feel like he had it before he met Sonic, but that can't be true, or he would have known Sonic would be where he was ahead of time and made his robots tougher in case a hedgehog attacked him. But he should be making them tough anyways, because Sonic isn't the only hedgehog around. Also, it would make more sense if we were told that Eggman stole the game. He's evil. Why would he buy it and therefore give money to Sonic? Why does Eggman have to be so incompetent that he's bad at the Sonic game? Like, just because he's the villain of that game. You'd think a genius would, if anything, be a quick learner and be good at the game. I assume the reason Sonic has a game based on himself is because of his fame as a rock star with Sonic Speed. It's just a bit confusing that Eggman would be playing video games at all when he's in his 50s. People like that have to be forced to play games if anything. And this was back in the 90s when the only target audience for games was children, so adults were even less likely to play games. But this matches with his childish personality, if that's what they're intending. It's also a missed opportunity that the background of the panel he's sitting in doesn't look like a bedroom of his, which could give him some character, and it says just some indistinct nonsense of colors. But we can assume he's back at home because of the television. But even then, he just crashed the concert and nearly killed Sonic. Logically, police would be going to his house. I guess he was smart enough to have a tiny hideout constructed and move there before he started trying to conquer the world. So the police can't find him because they don't know where he is. Maybe he's hiding in someone else's house. Thankfully, while the story did use Green Hill Zone and have the silly, classic Eggman design, it looked like it was actually trying to be original. It was just really hard to see at first because it was in Green Hill Zone, and had the same kind of talking animals that Sonic X and Fleetway had. So I spent a while expecting the story to just lead to a Sonic 1 adaptation, which was boring. Eggman detected his Chaos Emerald on South Island, but apparently that wasn't the whole reason he came there, and instead he just chose this random island for his new fortress for no reason. It would have taken one line to explain that he chose it because it was the closest island to his hideout, but instead it's a coincidence. Then Eggman crashes Sonic's concert, not because Sonic's a popular singer and he wants to hurt morale and he's jealous of him, but because there happens to be a Chaos Emerald buried there out of all other places, rather than it being in the special zone, and he just tried to kill Sonic on a whim. We didn't need Sonic to meet Eggman before Sonic 1 happened, if all that happened was this. I guess the reason he tried to kill Sonic on the first meeting was to hurt morale by killing a popular singer. Because if he thought he was an actual threat, he would have made his robots out of way tougher material than this. Despite being big and bipedal, they all die in one hit to the spin attack. So good thing they at least show most of them dying in one panel. And at least it was justified that they were defeated in a lazy way, because that was the only method of attack Sonic had at that point. And I guess it is like Sonic to be confident and know how to beat those robots, even the first time he's had to deal with them. He has sharp spines, naturally he'd use those. But he almost got hit with missiles out of nowhere. This is the first time that's ever happened to him, and he's not even scared. What a creator's pet. Why is Eggman so incompetent? Why is he so creator's petty? And I want to see at least one flaw in this guy. And I don't think I was supposed to think of him being cocky as a flaw. At least it was original that Eggman didn't badnickify people like I assumed. But I'm sure he'll do that next issue. So then why did he not do it now? Why was it kept off screen if he did do it, when that would be an establishing villain moment for him? Did he not have the ability to badnickify people yet? Why come to this island without it and be underprepared? He could come here at any time. All I really have to say about this whole thing is, while he didn't need to be a singer, it's good that Sonic's in a rock band, in the sense that it's the only thing that stands out about the story. Aside from Eggman not badnickifying people with his robots, and the emerald being buried. But the rock band stands out the most. It's good to have Sonic have a legitimate way of earning a living before he met Eggman, to explain how he could do that. Because we don't know if Sonic had an education that would let him get hired for any job, when he doesn't even have parents. So there isn't much of an alternative for him. But it would have been much better to just have him be a delivery boy, because that would take advantage of his super speed more than anything, without favoritizing it by making even someone with a nasally voice be a beloved famous singer.